Now, I have deeply doubtful moments when I say things like, what the heck am I trying to do here on this radio show? Or talking to Jesus. I'll say, okay, Big J, if you really exist, now would be a great time to show up and prove it. Or when recalling how great my kids were a few weeks ago, I sent up a big ol' thank you to the nebulous being who may or may not be in the proverbial heavens, hopefully, I think. I've been closely following the progress of one of my childhood friend's grandsons. I'm doing my best to interview him on the air for you in a couple of weeks. He's 4 years old, and he has leukemia. It's a truly horrible cycle to watch them go through, much less for them to have to endure it. They give this beautiful little boy chemo, which makes him very sick, and then they work to get him well enough so he can be doused again with these sickening chemicals that will ultimately heal him. I began to have this sense that God has been keeping a close eye on my progress, just like I watched this little boy fight for his health. But God watches me as the daddy. He watches you as the daddy. I've compared my spiritual state to many things over the last year. Sickness, vomit, whores, pimps. My second book details it all, by the way. I will shamelessly plug that now. You can go to my Facebook page, the fan page for The Naked Truth with Alicia New. And there are photographs of the covers of each book and CD. And you can go there and click on the link to purchase one, should you want to. But my second book especially details my opinion of my spiritual state and my opinion of the world as I struggled through the last few years being a single, divorced Christian mother. But I'm beginning to come to the place where I realize these have all been a part of the journey to wholeness as he's working to get me healthy enough to handle my next dose of strong medicine that will be coming around. I'm sure this baby boy knows that when his parents take him in repeatedly to the place that makes him sick, they're not doing it to be mean. Well, God isn't being cruel by taking me back and back to the same places to force me to get better. He's not mean because he's doing that with you. He has his eye on a prize for me, and I'm beginning to be able to focus my gaze on that prize along with him and hold his hand as we walk together to that place. Now, to just work that focus and knowledge up into a confident frenzy that can boast with the faith we see in Isaiah 50, verse 7, that says, "Because the sovereign Lord helps me, I will not be disgraced. Therefore, I have set my face like flint, and I know I will not be put to shame." That's the place that I want to get to. We're going to be talking about spiritual health if you want to call in. Easter's coming around soon, and I always kind of cringe when this season hits because everybody starts dressing up in bathrobes and donning bad wigs and splattering themselves with fake blood to reenact what happened at Easter. If there's one part of Christianity that I have the hardest time with, it would be the goriness of it all. I never did go see The Passion of the Christ. I'm a bad Christian. I remember specifically thinking to myself, if Jesus went through this, the least you could do is look at it. But I never did. Couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm just not a gore person. I don't like horror flicks. I could never be a nurse or doctor. I mean, I don't pass out when I give blood or when I, get a shot, but I can't press the up button fast enough if I catch a surgery in progress on a reality TV channel. I just don't like to see guts and blood. But you know what? Our culture is absolutely fascinated by it. Our televisions swirl around it in one form or another. It's hard to watch television and not catch a glimpse of it on one of the channels as you pass by. There's just something about blood that has a profound effect on our psyches as human beings. It shakes us up. It gives us hope sometimes, like when we donate it, when we need it. It's something we can share. It tells us things about our bodies when we're sick. It gives us life. It can't be reproduced by human hands, at least not yet. I know they're working on that. Now, I'm not sure how praying works for those who dwell on the outside of the brain of Alicia, but in my world, I do a thing called think praying. I love making up words too, so you can call an Alicia-ism if you'd like. It's better than winning, by far. Much more original, I would say. Well, I was think praying about some things one morning, and I realized that I'm actually convinced, beyond a doubt, that there is grace to cover all of this. I mean, I got some really whacked out, messed up things happening to some of my friends right now, and I adore them. But if I look too closely at the details of the monstrosity of their lives, I get confused and torn and don't know how to pray. But it occurred to me, somewhere between rinsing and conditioning my hair in the shower, that all this is covered, smothered actually, by his blood. Yeah, I was standing there and I went, ew, was that completely necessary, God? Not the visual I had in mind first thing in the morning. But his blood actually is just oozing all over and around this thing in my friends' lives. He bleeds with them. He bled for them. His blood just smothers every orifice of this situation. I like the word orifice. I say it as often as I can. I wish I had made that word up. I find it creepy that there's comfort and hope in being doused in someone else's blood. There's probably no other substance on earth that could grab our attention so fully as blood. We can never erase gory images from our minds once we've seen them. You can ask any wartime survivor who's experienced it up close. God knows exactly how to get our attention and keep it. I've been really meditating on that blood. It just creeps me out that I'm even telling you this. People say that we're washed in it. Oh, be washed in the blood. Remember that hymn? Remember when Jesus was trying to wash the disciples' feet? Not with blood, but with water. That's an image I keep coming back to. Peter, who is one of the disciples that I relate to the most, at first refused to allow it. I mean, I relate to Peter, I think, because he's such a dork. He's so extreme. He's all gung-ho one moment and then cursing and denying him the next moment. Well, Peter withdrew from Jesus. He was appalled at the idea of Jesus washing his feet. But then, when Jesus said, well, dude, if I don't wash you, you have no part of me. And Peter was like, man, well, not just my feet then, do the whole thing. That's this image I keep getting in my mind about this life that we live. Such a creepy visual, but such a big relief somehow. Insert a sigh of contentment here. I'm slathered in blood. I'm covered in this stuff.